Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel. Enjoy the listening. Aliens underestimated us, now their empire lies in ruins. The UNSS Intrepid sliced through the darkness of space, humanity's first true deep space vessel pushing beyond our solar system's edge. Captain Alina Rice stood on the bridge, watching as the stars streaked past on the main view screen. After 3 years of travel, they were approaching the Proxima Centauri system, carrying humanity's hopes and dreams of expansion beyond our cosmic neighborhood. "Captain, I'm detecting an anomaly at 2 light-minutes distance," reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson, his eyes fixed on the sensor readings. "Energy signature unlike anything in our database." Rice leaned forward. "Natural phenomenon?" "Negative. The pattern is too regular." Jackson's words died as the ship suddenly shuddered, emergency alerts blaring throughout the vessel. "Report." Rice shouted, gripping her command chair as the Intrepid lurched violently. "Unknown gravitational distortion." "We're being pulled off course," the helmsman replied, fingers flying across his controls. "Engines at maximum reverse thrust, but we're still being drawn in." The view screen filled with a swirling vortex of energy, and within moments, the Intrepid was engulfed. When the ship emerged, they found themselves in an unfamiliar star system, facing something impossible. A vessel that dwarfed their own by orders of magnitude hung in space before them, 20 kilometers of gleaming metallic hull, shaped like a massive arrowhead, pulsing with strange energy signatures along geometric patterns etched into its surface. "Open communications," Rice ordered, her voice steady despite the racing of her heart. "All frequencies. First contact protocols." Before her communications officer could comply, the ship's systems activated without authorization. The view screen shifted to reveal a humanoid figure with iridescent scaled skin, multiple sets of eyes, and a mouth filled with needle-like teeth. "Biological anomaly detected," the alien stated, its voice unnaturally modulated as it was translated through the Intrepid systems. "Primitive technological development. Initiating assessment protocols." The Intrepid's engines died instantly, every system except life support shut down, leaving them drifting helplessly as smaller craft detached from the massive vessel, approaching with predatory precision. "All personnel, prepare for potential hostile boarding," Rice announced shipwide, drawing her sidearm. "This is not a drill." The aliens didn't bother with airlocks, they simply phased through the hull, their technology making solid matter permeable to their forms. The first security team that confronted them fired standard-issue pulse rifles. The shots merely dispersed harmlessly against some kind of energy field surrounding the invaders. On the security feeds, Rice watched in horror as her crew was systematically subdued, not killed, but rendered unconscious with precise applications of some kind of energy weapon. The aliens moved through the Intrepid methodically, their 2-meter frames navigating human corridors with fluid grace. Within minutes, they reached the bridge. The doors slid open as if the security lockdown meant nothing, and 3 aliens entered. Up close, Rice could see the complexity of their scaled skin, shifting colors like oil on water, and the intelligence burning in their multiple eyes. The leader approached Rice, who stood her ground. "Your species designates itself as human," it stated, not a question but an observation gleaned from the ship's data banks. "I am High Commander Zealer of the Cavalry Dominion." Rice kept her weapon raised. "You've boarded our vessel without permission. Return control of our systems immediately." The alien's mouth parted, formed what might have been a smile. With frightening speed, it snatched the weapon from her hand and crushed it between its fingers, the reinforced metal crumpling like paper. "Such primitive tools," Zealer said, "for such fragile beings." The alien produced a handheld device that scanned Rice from head to toe. The results seemed to amuse it, its scales shifting to a pattern of bright blues and purples. "Your species registers as physically inferior by every metric," it continued. "Minimal muscle density, fragile skeletal structure, limited sensory capacity, abbreviated lifespan. It leaned closer, its breath carrying the scent of ozone. A biological footnote awaiting proper categorization. Rice felt herself lifted effortlessly by the front of her uniform. Your planet has been evaluated and found suitable for integration into the Dominion. Your species will serve according to its limited capabilities. The journey back to Earth was spent in isolated captivity. Through careful observation, Rice pieced together fragments of information. The cavalry had conquered dozens of star systems, following the same protocol: identify, evaluate, subjugate or exterminate. When they reached Earth orbit, the cavalry broadcast their message globally, using Rice as a visual example of human insignificance next to their physical superiority. High Commander Zeeler addressed humanity: your species has been assessed and categorized as Class 4 servitors. Resistance is illogical given your biological limitations. You will surrender all military assets and prepare for integration into the Dominion hierarchy. Monitoring vessels deployed around the planet, neutralizing any spacecraft attempting to leave atmosphere. Rice was returned to Earth, a broken messenger delivering a hopeless ultimatum. Earth's unified military response was swift and futile. The cavalry weapon systems neutralized missiles before they left atmosphere. Fighter jets were swatted from the sky like insects. Ground forces were immobilized by widespread energy fields that rendered electrical systems useless. Within weeks, major cities fell under cavalry control. Humans were processed, evaluated, and assigned roles based on their physical and intellectual capabilities. Those who resisted were not killed but subjected to neural reconditioning that left them compliant shells of their former selves. But in a secret facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Maya Sullivan studied the cavalry biological data gleaned from scattered encounters. Captain Rice had been debriefed extensively upon her return, and one detail caught Sullivan's attention. "You said they scanned you and seemed amused by the results," Sullivan asked, her eyes never leaving the molecular modeling display. Rice nodded. "They called us inferior in every way, physically weaker, shorter-lived, yet they bothered to conquer us instead of simply wiping us out." Sullivan mused, "That suggests we have some value to them." Sullivan's team had managed to recover tissue samples from a wounded cavalry during a skirmish in what was once Chicago. Under the microscope, the cellular structure revealed something extraordinary. "Look at this," Sullivan said to her colleague, Dr. Amir Khan. "Their genetic coding is almost completely uniform. No junk DNA, no redundancies." Khan leaned closer. "That's impossible. Every evolved species carries genetic variation, redundancies, evolutionary artifacts." "Unless they're engineered," Sullivan replied. "Not evolved naturally, but designed for perfection." "Perfect means specialized," Khan said slowly, understanding dawning. "And specialized means vulnerable," Sullivan finished. "They're too perfect, too uniform." She highlighted the cellular structures in the enhanced images. No natural immunity diversity, no genetic variation to adapt to novel threats. A plan began forming in her mind, one that would transform humanity's greatest weakness, our biological messiness, into the ultimate weapon against the perfect cavalry. "We need more samples," Sullivan said, determination hardening her voice. "And we need to get into one of their environmental processing centers." Rice, who had been listening silently, stepped forward. "I'll get you what you need. They think us weak. Let's show them how dangerous the weak can be when cornered." As the cavalry tightened their grip on Earth, establishing processing centers and beginning large-scale resource extraction, humanity's resistance formed in the shadows. The aliens' confidence in their superiority would be their undoing. They had conquered many worlds, but they had never encountered humans before, a species whose greatest strength was not in their muscles or bones, but in their relentless adaptability and refusal to accept defeat. The extinction protocol had begun, but not for humanity. 6 months into the cavalry occupation, human cities had been transformed. Massive extraction facilities pumped the land like metallic tumors, drawing resources from deep within the earth. Humans shuffled through designated corridors, neural compliance collars ensuring their docility as they performed menial tasks beneath the watchful gaze of their conquerors. In Cavalry Command Center Alpha, formerly known as Geneva, High Commander Zeeler reviewed the progress reports with satisfaction. Resource acquisition exceeded projections by 17.7%. Human compliance rates were stabilizing at acceptable levels. Minor resistance cells continued to operate, but their impact was negligible. The integration proceeds efficiently, Commander, reported Sub-Commander Velayer, his scales shimmering with prideful green patterns. The humans have accepted their natural place in the order. Zeeler's scales rippled with cautious yellow. Do not underestimate even lesser species, Velayer. Complacency breeds failure. Increase neurological compliance protocols by 12%. Beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility shielded from cavalry sensors by a combination of natural mineral deposits and adapted alien technology, Dr. Maya Sullivan had not seen daylight in months. The underground complex known as Sanctuary had become humanity's last, best hope. The samples from European Processing Center 3 confirm our theory, Sullivan announced to the gathered resistance leaders. The cavalry share a nearly identical genetic structure. The variation between individuals is less than 0.001%. How is that possible? Asked General Williams, former NATO commander, now leading what remained of Earth's military forces. We believe they engineered themselves for what they perceived as perfection, Sullivan explained. Maximum strength, intelligence, sensory capacity, but at the cost of genetic diversity. Captain Rice, her face bearing new scars from a narrowly escaped cavalry patrol, leaned forward. And that's their weakness? Sullivan nodded. Humans have messy genomes, full of redundancies, variations, even viral DNA incorporated over millions of years of evolution. When a new pathogen emerges, some of us die, but enough survive to develop immunity. The cavalry have no such diversity. If we can introduce something their systems have never encountered. You're talking about biological warfare, Williams said gravely. I'm talking about survival, Sullivan countered. They've already condemned millions to neural conditioning or processing. This isn't about ethics anymore, it's about whether humanity has a future. The room fell silent, the weight of the decision pressed upon them all. What do you need? Rice finally asked. Access to their environmental systems, Sullivan replied. The cavalry maintain strict biological isolation protocols. Their ships and facilities use closed-system environmental processing. We need to introduce our payload directly into those systems. Williams shook his head. Their security is impenetrable. We've lost 3 teams just trying to gather intelligence. Not entirely impenetrable, came a new voice. A lean man with haunted eyes stepped from the shadows, Marcus Chen, former CDC biocontainment specialist. Before they took New Atlanta, I was studying their environmental systems. There's a central processing node for North American operations in what used to be Kansas City. Less heavily guarded than their command centers. Can you get us in? Rice asked. Chen's mouth formed a grim line. Maybe. But we'll need a diversion, something big enough to draw their attention elsewhere. I think I can help with that, said a woman in the back of the room. Commander Sophia Das, one of the few surviving naval officers, stepped forward. We've been hiding something from the cavalry. The Ohio-class submarine Nebraska has remained undetected in the deep Pacific, nuclear-armed and operational. Williams' eyes widened. You're suggesting we launch a nuclear strike? The casualties would be acceptable if it means saving our species, Adas finished. But I'm not suggesting we target populated areas. The Nebraska can hit their major processing facility in the Mariana Trench. The underwater detonation would create minimal fallout but maximum disruption to their Pacific operations. The plan formed quickly after that. A nuclear strike on the Mariana facility would draw cavalry forces to the Pacific. Meanwhile, a small team would infiltrate the Kansas City Environmental Processing Center to introduce Sullivan's biological agent into their systems. In her laboratory, Sullivan worked tirelessly with her team. The weapon they developed wasn't a traditional pathogen. It was a synthetic prion, a misfolded protein that would trigger cascading failures in the cavalry nervous system. Unlike bacteria or viruses, it couldn't be detected by conventional biofilters, and because it targeted specific protein structures unique to cavalry biology, it would be harmless to humans and Earth life. The incubation period will be approximately 2 weeks, Sullivan explained as they prepared the delivery system, microscopic crystalline structures that would dissolve in the cavalry environmental fluid medium. They won't know they've been infected until it's too late. And the symptoms? Rice asked. Sullivan's expression was solemn. Progressive nervous system degradation. First fine motor control, then sensory processing, finally autonomous functions. It will be a difficult death. No worse than what they've done to millions of humans, Rice replied, though her voice held no satisfaction. The day of Operation Extinction dawned clear and cold. The submarine Nebraska had moved into position in the Mariana Trench. The infiltration team, Rice, Sullivan, Chen, and 3 former Special Forces operators, prepared at a forward base in the ruins of St. Louis. Their transport, a modified cavalry shuttle captured in a previous operation, would get them within a kilometer of the Kansas City facility. From there, they would proceed on foot through the drainage systems that Chen had helped design before the invasion. The nuclear detonation is scheduled for 0200, Williams informed them over their secure comm system. You'll have approximately 1 hour of reduced cavalry presence before reinforcements arrive from other sectors. Sullivan checked the containment case one final time. Inside, suspended in a specialized solution, were enough prion crystals to infect the entire North American cavalry environmental network. From there, it would spread throughout their connected systems worldwide. If we don't make it back, Sullivan said quietly to Rice, make sure someone else tries again. We only need to succeed once. Rice nodded, checking her weapon, a modified pulse rifle reverse-engineered from cavalry technology. We'll succeed. They think us weak. That's our advantage. At precisely 0200, the nuclear warhead detonated deep in the Mariana Trench. The underwater explosion sent shock waves through the cavalry processing facility, rupturing containment fields and destroying equipment worth more than the GDP of pre-invasion Earth. Alarms blared throughout all cavalry installations globally. In Kansas City, Rice watched as shuttles launched from the facility, rushing to respond to the Pacific emergency. Their window was open. The team moved silently through the drainage tunnels, Chen leading them through a labyrinth of concrete and steel. Twice they encountered automated security systems, which the team's tech specialist disabled using reverse-engineered cavalry codes. When they reached the central environmental processing chamber, they found it almost deserted. Only 2 cavalry technicians remained, their attention focused on emergency protocols. We need 3 minutes, Sullivan whispered, preparing the delivery system. Rice nodded and signaled to the operators. With practiced precision, they neutralized the technicians using modified stun weapons. Sullivan worked quickly, accessing the environmental control panel. The system was alien, but Chen's knowledge proved invaluable. Together, they bypassed the security protocols and opened the main circulation tank. Now, Sullivan said, activating the delivery mechanism. The crystalline structures dispersed into the swirling fluid, invisible to the naked eye but carrying humanity's vengeance in their molecular structure. An alarm sounded. Security breach in environmental sector, announced an automated voice in the cavalry language. Containment protocols initiating. Time to go, Rice ordered. They retreated through the drainage system as cavalry security forces flooded the facility. One of the operators fell, struck by an energy weapon. Another stayed behind to cover their escape, sacrificing himself so the mission could succeed. When they reached the extraction point, only Rice, Sullivan, and Chen remained. Their shuttle had been discovered and destroyed. They were stranded in hostile territory with the full might of the cavalry hunting them. "We need to split up," Rice decided. "Improve our chances that at least one of us makes it back to report success." Sullivan clutched the now empty containment case. "It doesn't matter if we make it back. The agent is in their system now. We wait." As they disappeared into the ruins of what had once been America's heartland, the microscopic agents of the cavalry's destruction circulated through their environmental systems, transferring from facility to ship, from ship to command center. The countdown to extinction had begun, and the cavalry, in all their engineered perfection, had no idea what was coming. 2 weeks passed without any sign that Operation Extinction had succeeded. In Sanctuary, General Williams paced the command center, anxiety evident in every step. The nuclear strike had cost them dearly, the Nebraska and her crew sacrificed to create the diversion. And of the infiltration team, only Chen had made it back, bringing confirmation that the agent had been deployed, but no evidence of its effectiveness. "We should have seen.